Football then and now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.
Good. I'll get going. It's all right. We are back. Welcome back to another edition of Football Then and Now, episode 66. Myself and Chris are on the show together for the first time in 5 weeks. We were last on the show together, episode 59, which is a long time for me and you not to be on together, actually.
I know. It's uni business got away, didn't it? And then we ended up doing separate ones with different people, and I suppose it's a good thing in a way that we don't. The show doesn't just rely on just us two being together. There are, other members, I suppose, of the show that are, you can call them members, I guess, can't you? Because they've been on enough.
Yeah,
time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we can use other people to jump on when one of us aren't available. So it just shows the versatility, isn't it?
Absolutely. And football on this day in football history returns. We haven't had this for a while, and you have got a core career, because I can remember this. So you sent it to me earlier today. Take it away, mate.
Oh, I don't know how do you want to put it. It was 2004, and I think Wayne Rooney lit that Euros up. Obviously, still an Everton player at the time, but it was his first major tournament, and he was outstanding, wasn't he, until that metatarsal injury. But unfortunately, he got that injury in the quarterfinals against Portugal, and I think we were doing pretty well. But as you well know, Stu, quarterfinals in England were a sticking point for quite a while. We would get there and we'd have a lose on pens, or we'd just be knocked out, in normal time. But I think we were excited for this one, especially I suppose as Evertonians, and seeing Wayne Rooney on, a big stage, and showing people what he was capable of doing. It's just a shame, obviously, when he got that injury, the momentum stopped. Really, there wasn't enough grit and determination like there was when Wayne Rooney was taking the ball and going at defenders and making opportunities happen. And that's what he was all about most of his career. But this was the early Wayne Rooney, if you remember rightly, where he was blood and thunder, wasn't he? The disciplinary and such things obviously never went away from him, but he was a bit more, what would the word be? Aggressive. Yeah, I'd say, go with aggressive. But unfortunately, we went one. It was 1-1, if I remember rightly. And I'm sure Michael Owen scored in this one, Stu.
Costinha, the ball came in from David James. It's come through into the box. Costinha's tried to flick it back or get it forwards, and it's gone to Owen. He pirouetted almost and put it over Ricardo for 1-1. Yeah.
And he scored. And I mean, to be fair to Michael Owen, he always scored in the big games for England. I remember quarterfinals, Brazil. Was it it was quarterfinals in the World Cup against Brazil. We took the lead, didn't we? And then obviously, I think Ronaldinho with that weird ass free kick that David Seaman couldn't, work where the goal was at that time. But unfortunately, we went to penalties, and it was just one of them. And England at this point in time, because obviously we've got over this massive hump, and this was a massive hump for decades with England, in penalty shootouts. As I said, we've got over that hump now, but it wasn't a good one. Ricardo was in goal, as you said, Stu. He saved pretty much all the star players. I think only Owen Hargreaves scored in that penalty shootout, because we do go on to play them again in the quarters on penalties, don't we? And then obviously Rooney gets sent off in that one. But it was just, when you look at Darius Vassell up front and taking penalties, it mind boggles, doesn't it?
Ericsson stuck with him for years as well. When you look back, he had a lot of caps, didn't he, Vassell? He seemed to pick him. He kept going. And don't get me wrong, scored goals for Villa. Don't get me wrong, he got a lot of goals, didn't he? But Ericsson liked him because he got capped numerous times under him.
I be honest with you, it's just, I think as it still probably is now. I know we've got to more finals and semi-finals more recently, but I always think when it comes to England, there's too many egos. Where you see players for other countries, and I'll say France and Germany and Brazil, have all got massive egos, but they all seem to gel really well for their country. Our team, I just think, because of the rivalryhood of certain teams and certain players that play for these certain teams, it just doesn't. I don't know if it's my opinion, obviously, but I don't know if it's me thinking it, but they just don't mesh. You're liking the look in the likes of Lampard, Gerrard, Scholes. Even Scholes didn't really get in under Eriksen at all, really, and that's a mad one for me, because I think he was one of the best midfielders we've ever produced. And he was constantly playing Heskey, wasn't he? Like I said, it was an awful penalties for England, other than Owen Hargreaves. I think it was. I don't know, actually. Was it Owen Hargreaves in this one or the one before? I didn't actually look at the score. It was. I'm sick of looking at it.
It was 2-2. Obviously, went into extra time, didn't it? Ruby Costa scored to make it 2-1. Helder Postiga scored before that, then he scored the first one. Lampard got it to 2-2, and that was then obviously what got it to the penalty stage. Yeah,
we just couldn't get over it at that point. Like I said, obviously things have changed, and I just said then we have managed to get to semi-finals and finals. Still haven't got over, that final sort of line of winning the actual competition. But I feel like England are more closer. I don't know under the new regime of Tuchel. I don't know, hasn't gone tremendous so far, but I suppose he's looking at what players he can trust going forward.
He's trying to work out what he's going to do, isn't he? Which the Senegal game, which you spoke about a few weeks back, it didn't go so far, but it was just a friendly, and it wasn't the best 11 by any stretch. He's trying things, isn't he, at the moment? But he's going to have to get it right, because in this time, 12 months, we're going to be deep into the World Cup, aren't we? And it's going to come around faster than we would like it to come, actually, because time just goes, doesn't it? But it will be interesting. Ricardo scored the winning penalty in this as well to really to really put the boot in. They sent the keeper to get the winning penalty. And just England on penalties, and like you said, 2006, 0-0, Rooney got sent off, Ronaldo winking. So they did him for 2 tournaments, didn't they, in a row? But great having on this day in football history back, mate, because it's been weeks and weeks and weeks.
There was another one.
Go on,
and I
fire away.
Very briefly one, and I think it was the World Cup, and England. I think we'd got 1 point. In a group with Uruguay, if you remember rightly, when good old Gerrard headed the ball back to, I think it was I can't remember who was in goal for us at that point. Was it not Ben Foster, was it? Was it Rob Green?
Might have been Rob Green, but the 2010 tournament.
Yes, and it
was Rob Green, I think, if memory serves.
On this day, what happened was obviously Luis Suarez got a bit hungry, didn't he? Went for an Italian. And he bit Chiellini, at the corner. That was another thing that happened on this day. And obviously everyone can remember that, because he was notoriously known for biting, and he was in Holland as well as playing in the Prem. But this was so on show.
He was calming people. He was calming down one of the younger players for Miami the other night. I saw that. It was kicking off, and he's the one being sensible. And it's like you say, he was the biter. He was the vampire, mate. I want to suck your blood. Now he's the sensible one. At 38 years of age or whatever he is.
Growing up.
Full circle, I think, with that one. But I'm going to move us on to some transfer news, Chris. Like you said, it's been a bit slow, really, the last few days, as you said to me. But we have got a few bits and pieces. Currently, I'll bring it up. It's Anthony Elanga. Newcastle have put a bid in. It's been rejected, of course, 45 million. Forest signed him from United for 15 million. So it's a sizable increase, isn't it? But off the back of his performances this season and them getting into Europe and having a decent season, they fell off slightly, but they still got into the Europa, didn't they? Forest value him at 60 million, as you can see there, Chris. They want bang for the buck. They want the most amount for him, don't they?
Also, don't forget, even though he's Swedish, isn't he, Elanga? It's still that English tax, isn't it? Because he came through United. And obviously, I obviously remember when he went to Forest because we had a bid accepted for Alanga at the same time. But obviously, we were going through whatever we're going through, and Nottingham Forest obviously must have offered him more, wage-wise. And to be honest with you, he's been fantastic for them. Minus the injuries he's got, and he has had a few, hasn't he? Him and Hudson-Odoi. But when they're both playing together on the left and the right, absolutely devastating. And you saw this season how influential they were for Nottingham Forest, as well as linking up with Chris Wood, who's had an absolute banger of a season. Who would have thought he would have, scored so many goals? But when you've got them two who have got pace and the skill to get the ball in and beat a man, I mean, it's a field day for a striker. But yeah, I think you got to look up and I'm looking at terms now. It's like I'll say Jarrod Branthwaite, for example. Other people can value our players at what they think, but I think you always got to look at what the club and the fans value of the player. Do you know what I mean? It's always going to be a different. And then Alanga, as you say, the season and how well he's done, and and he scored some vital goals for Forest. For them to win, I think 60 million for them is what they feel like he's worth, and what he's done for them is, 60 million pounds worth of European football. I'd also put this: Newcastle were interested in him, I think, in January. Alanga, I don't think they put a bid in, and there were rumours that obviously they were hovering, but obviously I don't think they wanted to spend any money at that point, did they? Because of PSR and what have you.
Correction on my end there as well. They're not in the Europa League. They're in the Conference League, Forest. So I made a boo-boo there, but I just remembered it was like, it's conference. It was Conference League. They're still in it. They're still, they're still in Europe, which by their standards, finishing where they finished the season before, of course, just stayed up, didn't they? Amazing. And don't take anything away from them. It's a long old season and they were right in the hunt. They were right in the hunt. They were, in the peak of the Champions League spots for so long, weren't they?
Yeah. Them and Bournemouth, obviously you give your hats to Liverpool because they did boss it this season and undoubtedly won the league. Bournemouth and Forest just changed it up. It wasn't the same old top four, top six, was there? The Villa were there, Newcastle were there, but Bournemouth and Forest were literally in those Champions League spots throughout the season. And I think we got towards I think for Bournemouth it was the last 3 months and they literally dropped, didn't they? And then Forest was just probably the last month where they were losing games and everyone else was getting momentum then. But then the teams that were behind them, Stu, like the Cities, they've all been in these situations before. So there's no panic stations, just that they just go on and do their job as normal. Where Forest team will obviously be knackered because how much they put in all season. But you get into a stage where your players aren't used to being in that position, are they? And you do have a panic station here and there, and it happened. And it's kicking the balls for them though, because I'm sure they would want Champions League like any club would. But as you say, they got Europa Conference League. Sorry, same competition. It's
you want them all. You want them all in the mix, don't you? Not all just going to the same pot.
Wait for cup.
Do a knockout. Sod the league stages and all that in the groups now. But go back to the old-fashioned thing.
I think Alanga would be a fantastic for Newcastle. Don't get me wrong. I can't think who they replace. Would it be obviously Gordon would keep his place on the right. So I'm assuming Alanga would go on the left.
And then you've got Harvey Barnes there.
But this is what I mean.
I think he's looking at Champions League, Eddie Howe, where they need the squad, don't they? He needs depth. He needs to rotate as well. So he's probably got one eye on the Champions League, and it's going to be hard going, isn't it? They're going to have to add, but they've been watching financials, haven't they, and stuff like that. I don't know how that is going into this season, but they've been very careful, as we've said. So he's looking to strengthen, and Alanga would strengthen it, wouldn't he?
No, definitely. I couldn't see him not doing a good job at Newcastle. I think if anything, actually, he's playing with better players. With Bruno behind him, you got Tonali behind him, Jolinton as well, who's turned into a solid centre midfielder. Who would have known when he first come to the Premier? He was dreadful, wasn't he? But he obviously found his spot in his place. But yeah, I think. If it's not like Newcastle haven't got the money, but as you say, they have to watch. PSR isn't going well yet, not for another season anyway, at least. So we not we, then they have to keep an eye on it. But I'm assuming, Stu, if they can spend 60 million on one player, they must be allowed to spend a bit of money to it.
There's readies, and there's definitely readies for them. Lewis Young, hey, hello, mate. Hope you're well. And I'm going to move us on, Chris. I'm just going to get into Mark Gay, linked heavily with Liverpool, but also linked with Arsenal. Now, he's been fantastic over the last few years for Palace, great for England as well. He was fantastic at the Euros, arguably the player of the tournament in the Euros. We've spoken about that, haven't we? Only 1 year left to run at Palace. Again, so they need to cash in on him. He's obviously not going to sign a new contract. Doesn't look that way, does it?
No.
But they've got Europe as well. Arsenal, when they lost Gabriel, Kivior was playing with Saliba, wasn't he, at the back? So they're obviously looking, again, I'll use the Champions League factor here as well. Gay to strengthen, isn't it? Again, all them games, if they can get him, Arsenal, and injuries, they need top level players, don't they, at the back? Kivior did okay when he came in. He was relatively okay, but they do need to strengthen and they need cover, don't they? But where would you see him going out of them two? Would you say he'd favour a move to Liverpool or Arsenal? At Canate, he's only got a year left at Liverpool, of course, but they'll be looking to strengthen. They need extra bodies. They'll need to rotate as well with Europe and the domestic competitions.
Depends what Stu, if he wants to stay in London. If he stays in London, Palace to Arsenal, it's a straight shot, isn't it? He doesn't have to uproot anything. Liverpool, obviously, champions under a new era of slot. And they're buying really good players. Kirkes, from what Fabrizio Romano has said, is undergoing a medical. I'm not 100% sure if Romano is correct there about Kirkes, but we do know that Kirkes is pretty much, where he wants to go is Liverpool. But to see Gay, Liverpool, it's a hard one because Canate and Virgil van Dijk have been very good together, and I don't think they'd want to change anything at the moment. Arsenal, then you've got, as you say, Saliba and Gabriel. It doesn't sound, when they say the defenders for these two teams, it doesn't seem like he's going to be playing week in, week out. He'd have to be on the bench. I just think for a player his quality, he needs to be playing first team. Newcastle had a pop, didn't they, last summer, trying to sign him. I think they went up to close to 80 million for Gahey, and Palace still said no. So
I've got a comment off a Liverpool fan here, a friend of ours, Stephen Ash.
I can see.
Old friend Stephen Ash here. He can sit on our bench. Well,
I don't know.
I think he pushed Canate, to be honest with you. But Ash, you watch him week in, week out, of course. It's not our club, so you see it a bit more than us. Again, Chelsea were heavily linked with him coming back there as well. There was talks. Chelsea have been heavily linked, so has been doing the rounds. But Palace, if Palace can secure him to a long-term contract, 'cause he's got the year to run, you don't know, do you? They might be able to keep hold of him. And like you said, he plays week in, week out there. That is the sticking point, isn't it? Moving to one of these two clubs.
Well, if he wants to carry on playing for England, he's going to have to, keep playing first-team football on a consistent basis. If he can't be sitting on the bench, Arsenal, Liverpool, as much as it's a glamorous signing for him to go to either club because they're in the Champions League and he'd be fighting for the title instead of, floating around bottom half, the bottom middle half of the Premier League. And, what a way to sign off of winning the FA Cup with Palace and moving on to another club. It's just it's one of them. I wouldn't count Newcastle away. I think if they were interested in him last summer, I do think they'll probably come back in for him. And because I think they need to revamp their back line. Dan Burns not getting any younger, is he? Let's be honest. And nor is who was the Dutch one they bought? Bosman. Is it Botman? Sorry,
Sven Botman. Sven Botman.
He's had a few injuries, hasn't he, Botman? And Fabian Schär as well. He's not getting any younger, so they do need to sort of look to the future, don't they? And Gay would be fantastic for them, but again, it's whether or not Palace are going to want to sell him for a high amount or cut down because you say he's got 1 year left.
We got Mr. Crowhurst in the comments here. We're honoured.
No, Richie Rich.
Hello, Richie. And again, Rich might be a natural replacement for Virgil van Dijk over the next couple of years. Yeah. It's valid, absolutely valid. Yeah, definitely.
Again, you're going back to if he wants to sort of play off the bench, isn't it? I don't think he'd want to do that, would he?
Not when you've played week in, week out for Palace and being like one of the top players. Absolutely. I'm going to just move us along. A man we've been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks. Is he going to go to Man United? This carries on, of course. They had a first bid rebuffed for Mbeumo, of course. Man United went in at 55 with the add-ons, didn't they, and stuff. They've improved it to 60 million. But as you and Brady were saying last week, Thomas Frank's now at Spurs. There's talk that Spurs could get him as well. It just keeps on going, this one. We've been covering him a lot, and we've shown him a lot of praise on this show as well for his fantastic stats at Brentford, the goals, the assists, improving year on year. He's been brilliant, one of the top attacking players in the league, especially last season.
Between him and Wissa, fantastic for Brentford. And it'd be a bit of a sad time for Brentford to lose him, because he's been a talisman, hasn't he? And me and Brady spoke about it. And me and you spoke about this before, and you were the one who mentioned it about when Ivan Toney was suspended for so long. And Mbeumo and Wissa stepped up massively, and they haven't stopped, have they? They've been consistent for a number of years now. It'd be a great signing for Man United and Tottenham, I'd say. But I think, would he go to Tottenham? And he's going to play in the the Champions League if he went to Tottenham, and he'd be back with Thomas Frank. Or does he start fresh and go to Man United and, for the rebuild that obviously they definitely need to get better than it was last season for them? It depends, isn't it? Do you play with Thomas Frank again, or do you go and try something completely different? Because I'm assuming they would want to make him one of the main men anyway, because he knows where the back of the net is, and he has scored some fantastic goals as well.
They're missing. Obviously, they've missed Kane's goals, Spurs, and Son is getting on. He's put so much into his career there. We spoke to John, didn't we, about it? He agreed with me. There's a lot put on Son still, and him and Kane together were superb, as we've said. But yeah, he'd be brilliant. He's not your out and out number 9, though, is he? Do you know what I mean? They're still they're going to be looking for that player surely as well. Solanke, in and out, obviously injuries and things like that. He didn't have the best season, but I'm sure he can kick on and get back to that form he had at Bournemouth. But it's interesting. It's an interesting one. But Spurs don't pay the big wages, do they?
No,
John's told us about that. Their wage percentage is so low. So it's ifs and buts at the moment, isn't it? But I would say, from what we've read in the reports and rumour mill, of course, I would say United are in pole position. I think United are going to get him, and it's going to be incredible to see him and Cunha together if that happens at United.
Yeah, formidable. But we haven't actually, if we will be realistic here, we haven't actually heard Tottenham or Thomas Frank say that they want Mbeumo. Spurs, have they? All we get him from here is paper talk and Sky Sports, who like to stir things up anyway, even when they haven't got a proper source on it.
I'm just looking at the scores live in the Club World Cup as well. Benfica are beating Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich, when the first 2 games, they were top. Benfica are on 4 points. They go top. Now, it affects Chelsea's group for the last 16, who's in first and who's in second in both of those groups. Because if Chelsea can obviously get top in their group, and Bayern ended up finishing second with that current score line, they're not going to be happy. But then Benfica will be tricky as well. So, 1-0 to Benfica against Bayern Munich, Chris. And obviously, Auckland and Boca are just playing for pride, really, I think. Auckland more so, they're part-time. Boca Juniors are 1-up in that game. So, as it stands, just live, Benfica are top of the group, but Bayern have won their previous 2 games. So, plenty of football to be played there. You haven't seen much of it, have you? You were telling me.
Funny, I watched City, and is it Al Hilal?
Yes.
I watched that. Well, I was up at 2:00 in the morning. Obviously, I've just come off my night, so I was just sort of, and get myself back into norm. But obviously, I was still up, and I watched it, and I don't know. I haven't got the feel for it. I think it's like the competition's just a farce, isn't it? Yeah, I feel like it should have just stayed the way it was originally.
What do you think once you get into the deeper parts of it, into like the quarters and that, and you've got the elite team? Saying that, the Brazilian teams have been doing really well.
Yeah,
There's been some fantastic results. Is that down to fatigue, on the European team side, but it's actually made for a better tournament. I think that they've been playing in, teams from other countries haven't been playing, have they, as such? But they could have ring rust. But this is the debate. They're saying teams are getting a chance because we've only just finished our seasons on the European continent. So, but it's actually made for better games, I think.
I think it would definitely be tiredness for most of the players in Europe, and I'd say definitely for the British teams because we're only a few weeks from the Premier League finishing, and it's not like Germany or anywhere else where they get December off before coming back in January. The Premier League is straight through, isn't it? I'd say there'll be tiredness. Maybe some teams or or clubs are just there for the money and are not really interested in going for it per se. It's a hard one, but I have seen highlights of Flamingo, and they look really, really good. And I think Inter Miami didn't look too bad. Al Nassr, they didn't look too bad, and then there's El Halal. There's so many.
They drew in Madrid, Al Halal.
Yeah, I did watch that game. Yeah, and I remember seeing from highlights, mind you. I didn't watch the game itself.
Got like Ruben Neves and that. You know what I mean? They've got players. They've got lads in there that can play. It has split opinion. I've seen quite a bit of it. The stadium's not being full as well. It's I suppose for the International World Cup, you're going to see full stadiums, you'd imagine. But it was a pricing thing. And we've talked about pricing for sports events, haven't we?
Yeah.
And apparently they brought the prices down like the week of the tournament. But you had like 22,000 at Atlanta Stadium when Chelsea played LAFC. It holds like probably 70,000, the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So it's just like, it's not great, is it?
And can I be honest with you as well? The crowd, I've heard louder and more energetic people on a Sunday league game. Honestly, it's boring. Like, what I mean? The crowd get you into it when you watch it on the telly, yeah. And it's so flat, and there's no energize, from anything. I think with the other clubs like Brazilian ones, I've come on to show their talents, and Brazil have got a humdinger of young players. And I said this to you before before this tournament started, and I said about Flamingo coming over and Botafogo. They've got all these younger players. They obviously want to showcase because it's on a big grand story, isn't it? The first cup and it's changes and everything like that. And obviously Botafogo and Flamingo have shown like the talents that have coming through. You've seen Estevo, who plays for, I think he's at Botafogo, that's going to Chelsea, the young lad.
Esteval, is it? It's
pronounced in different ways.
Yeah.
But he's only I think he was 14, 15 when Chelsea bought him. So obviously in Brazil they can't leave until they're 17. But you've seen the skills of him already. Again, it's good to see the talent there, and I think if anything, it just gives other teams an interest then to see how well these clubs in Brazil and what they're bringing up youthful. It is really good.
Palmeiras is winger, the number 8 as well. He looked a bit older. He's probably in his 20s. I can't think of his name. He looked good the other day. He looked good. It's a shot window for some of these guys as well.
Yeah, we don't forget we're in the transfer window now.
Positive of it. We're knocking it a little bit, but positives is a shop window here for players that want to get into Europe or Saudi. Players.
The Saudi clubs are there. Yeah, that's
people
correct.
are still going there, aren't they? So it's it'd be interesting to see. I know Juventus Man City is Thursday night, so that will be decent because they're both trying to get.
I'll be working then.
You can watch the highlights later on, mate. Yeah, you get the pilots. But I'm looking forward to that because they've looked good in the group, but obviously it's not the strongest. In there when you take them two out of it. But yeah, it'd be interesting, that one on Thursday. And games on Channel 5 as well, in conjunction with DAZN. So
right.
there are matches on Channel 5 as well. But obviously all the games are for free, but they're trying to give you the enhanced thing that you need to subscribe to as well. That keeps popping up, but you can ignore it. So yeah, if you didn't know already, people, The Zone, you can get all the games for nothing in 1080, in glorious 1080, but they want you to have 4K, HDR, and Dolby Surround and all the nonsense. But you can get it for free. You can get it for free. It's what I'm saying there, just to end.
Yeah, don't put your hands in your pocket. If you get it for free, watch it for free. 1080 is all right.
Reading today as well, they've had to reduce our capacity by about 119 seats today as well. I was reading. So yeah, the capacity of the stadium is do like home and away. There's something, and they've
Bramley Moordock, yeah.
Yeah, they've reduced it by 119. The way the headline was written, I thought it was like 3,000 seats were going, but it's 119. It's to do with configuration and stuff like that. There's stuff behind it. So yeah, we've dropped down.
Great. You know what I mean? Considering I wanted more seats.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you wanted it to 60. Well, we've reduced by 119, so we're 119 less from getting to 60 now, mate.
So what you'll say is, right, we'll be at 42,000 like Goodison again by the time the season. You know what I mean? You know, honestly, like, can they never get anything right? Can they, Everton, half the time? I mean, they always make one mistake. It's stupid. Why didn't they, like, you know, I mean, you'd think all these builders are measuring, and they would have spoken to the FA and, you know, making sure what's right seating wise. But no, we'll just do what we want and then look like tits. You know, having to take
a pair of tits.
It is.
We'll all be tits in the ground, won't we? Yeah.
Well, yeah, if we can get in.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? When you just get these package bloody VIP plus Forever Blue to get in. But yeah, I noticed that today. Anything to add before we go? Have we got anything juicy, anything rumour, anything else you've seen before we go?
Let me give you let's see if I can get any rundowns here. Actually, I'm going to go find Romano, Stu, because even though
he's pitching late on this evening.
No, he's not as good as he once was. I think Ornstein's the guy now, isn't he? Like I said, here you go, Stu. Ansu Fati, Monaco.
Barca want him off the wages because he's on ridiculous money still.
Loan to buy.
Sorry?
The loan to buy.
Yeah. I've been hearing, I was listening to the Trans-Euro Express on Talk Sport the other night with Danny Kelly, and they were saying his wages, because when he came through, obviously, he was the next big thing, wasn't he? They really hedged their bets on him, didn't they? And then Lamine Yamal's coming, hasn't he? You know, just plotted his copybook.
Brighton, he's class.
He was at Brighton money. He was at Brighton on loan.
Fire.
No, it's a shame really, because he was so heavily touted. Remember on Footy Manager, you know, he was the one to get him, wasn't he?
But they just bought. I can't pronounce his second name, Stu, because it's too. I think he's a Swedish player. He's called Ronnie, right? They bought him for $2 million. He's an attacking right midfielder. Another Football Manager, young kid, wonder kid. Everybody who plays Football Manager would know who he is. Absolutely a storming player. I think he's played United once in the the Europa League. I think it was Copenhagen he's with. I think it was Copenhagen. It's been a while. I haven't signed him for a while. But he's gone there for $2 million, Stu, and that's a snippet of a player that, you know, from what I can see and read about. And obviously, you know what I'm like when I find these wonder kids on Football Manager. I go and do my research what they're like in real life. But he is just as well as the scouts of Football Manager have you know, made him out to be. And for $2 million, you can't even get him for $2 million on a flipping game. I mean, so Barca have shipped Ansu Fati out and bought Ronnie in, and he's only, I think, 18 or 17, 18. So one for the future, but already played in Europe, and you know what I mean. He's a decent right attacking midfielder. Obviously, he's going to have to dislodge Rafinha. Stu,
he's been absolutely brilliant. He's Ballon d'Or level as well. You know what I mean? He was in the conversation, wasn't he, for that? You know, and many are, and his stats were amazing. But yeah, you just feel for Ansu Fati, because I remember on Football Manager, on the left of a free, as the 9 on the right. He was so versatile and he
Yeah,
was so
all
effective.
top half.
He was so effective in all positions, but like you say, sometimes it just doesn't happen. But look at Usman Dembele as a player. You know, went for the big money, didn't he, years ago? And then he's gone to PSG. He's like 28 now, and he's had probably his best season he's ever had. So
he's just won the Champions League. So
it can come back. It can come back, can't it? It's not to say that lad can't get it, but he just needs to find himself again, doesn't he? Play for somebody consistently and then see how he gets on.
I think it's feeling the love as well. And I think with Barca at this current time, I don't think a lot of players are feeling love because a lot of them are owed wages and it can be demoralising, can't it? You know, are you going to get these wages, or are you going to be shipped off, and you're never going to see the couple of million that they owe you? I've got something that's broke 50 minutes ago, Stu. Quite a big story.
Go on, fire away. We've got time here. We can have another one.
Lyon have been relegated to League 2.
Oh my God! After having such a good run in the Europa League as well.
Yeah, the Romano's posted this 52 minutes ago. The club are obviously going to appeal the decision, but yeah, the big statement here is Olympique Lyon have been relegated.
Everyone associates them with Ligue 1, don't they? They're always one of the top teams.
Forever, haven't they?
Yeah. They've been brilliant for so many years. The last 25 years, at least, maybe a bit longer. Consistently in the Champions League, we've seen so many great players come through there. You know, players that have been sold on. You know,
Lacazette.
Janino hitting them free kicks.
Best free kick taker ever in the world.
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant, man. But very sad news that they've gone down.
Well, I'm gonna say this. It makes me more happier that John did not get a hold of it. because
he's had to shift. Yeah. And he's had to shift out of Palace as well, as he's had to sell because it was jeopardising them having a European spot, wasn't it? So, yeah, I think we've dodged the bullet there, Chris.
Yeah.
We were kind of off the back of 777 and that debacle, we were kind of looking at Textor, weren't we? Thinking, but thank goodness is what I'm going to say there, mate.
Well, the thing is like, we've seen it and been through it. Okay, Mashiri did put his hand in his pocket, and we wasted a lot of money. But he wasn't good on the business side, and you saw how bad Everton were running the back, and now you've seen it at Man United, how bad that's getting run in the back, and things like that. They do come onto the field, and I think it ruins the club. Mentality. That players are fed up of hearing it, and then obviously we as fans are kicking off constantly, and we're against each other. We're not together as fans, and it does sort of build and build, doesn't it? I think you need that harmony and the love for the club that everybody feels. I think that excuse me, like you say, you look at Liverpool, City, and stuff like that. Everyone's in harmony. Everyone's in going in the same direction. Where clubs that are run by idiots who've got no idea, just want to be, a king of a club, but have absolutely no idea of how to run it, and throw whatever money at them, and not thinking about the money that they need to bring in, and it ruins clubs. And you've got to feel sorry for the I can't even say the word now, Lyon's fans, because as you said, they've been in Ligue 1, for a very long time. They produced some cracking players. And you say about Juninho Pub, as we'll call it, he scored some absolutely fantastic free kicks. But you remember all these things for Lyon, and now that obviously they've been relegated because obviously financial mess that they're in, it's sad, isn't it? Because we've already seen one French club get pretty much chucked Bordeaux all the way down to the bottom.
Yeah.
So these are the things that clubs need to
definitely, because it's becoming more and more common now, and they will penalise you. They will penalise you. They'll do it. We came close ourselves. Other clubs have. So, yeah, just sad evening for Lyon and their fan base, of course. And they're in that lovely stadium that was at the Euros in 2016. So yeah, we just wish you the best. Off the back of that terrible news this evening for Lyon, they've been relegated. They've been sent down to the second division in France this evening. A big thank you to the Sports Social Podcast Network, as always, Chris. And it's got to be 600 podcasts and counting now. It has to be. They're getting there.
I think more than that now, Stu.
They're getting there. If you've got a show,
I think they've gone past the 600 mark.
100%. We've been saying 550 for so long. But yeah, if you've got a sports-based podcast, as me and Chris always say, and you're not affiliated with anyone, get on board with them. Chris got me in touch with him with the wrestling show years ago. Big Fight Weekly we had with them, didn't we? And they're brilliant. They're really, really good. And yeah, just if you want to join them and you're not with anyone, join the Sports Social Podcast Network because it's growing. There's major podcasts on there as well, not just fan ones. And yeah, they've been brilliant with us.
You need to get on this train. Anyone who's got a podcast out there, you need to get on this train of Sports Social, because if you miss it, you're going to wish you did. They're fantastic, and you know what I mean, they pay for your audio on all platforms, so you know what I mean, you're not having to put your hand in the pocket. All you have to do is put sponsorships in the audio platform, and off it goes for you. That's all you need to do. It's nothing strenuous, it's nothing confusing. It explains how to do it once you put your audio in, and to put the sponsorship audio in with it. And you know what I mean, there you go. And if you need help, they'll do video calls with you. Me and Stu had a meeting last week, wasn't it, with Carl? And they're there for you. So I think if you're a small podcast like ourselves, they're definitely the team to go and talk to.
Definitely. Aston Villa podcasts on there as well. We've got the Unholy Trinity that we are so fond of. Chris has been on their show many a time. We've had Mike on our show. Of course, if any Premier League teams that you follow, you're gonna find one for your club on there. There's so much choice, much choice. But yeah, thank you, Chris. Great being back on together after 5 weeks of no episode with us both on. Crazy. We'll be back next week for episode 67 of the show as well.
It's going to be nostalgia next week.
It's some
nostalgia. We spoke about this, so it's nostalgia
current, but yeah, 100%. We'll have a think on them topics, and we'll see you for a nostalgic episode next week on Football Then and Now. A look at retro topics and, of course, modern and new topics and new news and fresh news on this show. And yeah, we'll see you next week, guys.
See ya.
Football Then and Now, a fun look at football nostalgia and the modern game intertwined. Join us.